Well, hello everyone and welcome back to the Canary Central channel. And Norwich City take on the mighty Oxford United, who currently sit in 23rd in the Championship table. As well, it's been quite a disappointing season for Oxford United, with them sacking their manager Gary Rowett midway through the season in December after a disappointing couple of results, which has led them to fall even further down the table. One, you could argue, due to poor tactician management. I mean, all you could kind of say is that they kind of look like they could go down just because of the squad ability that they do have. They have got some promising talents in there within the ranks, but I don't think they have the quality side to keep themselves up in the division. They are only 5 points off of safety, as they're currently sat 23rd, with 21st sitting on 32 points. So if they could get 5 points within their next 2 games, they could be out of that relegation scrap potentially for the time being. But at the minute, they're under the head coach management of Matt Bloomfield, who took charge of Luton Town last year with high hopes of him potentially rescuing them from the Championship relegation battle, but he ended up going back down to League One with them after joining from Wigan Athletic. And now he takes on Oxford United, where pressure is on for him to get them out of the relegation scrap. I would argue that their squad is a League One quality side, but to be honest, we drew 1-1 against them in that in the first ever game for Felipe Clement. So it's a little bit of a nice return for Felipe Clement, just to see how he does up against the first side that he played up against for Norwich City, to see how much the squad has genuinely improved. And if we can really get a good result away at the Kassam Stadium with the notably 3-tier stand, it should be, well, the free stands in the stadium. It should be an incredible confidence boost for Clement and the players, knowing that they have drastically improved and are not the quality of those bottom 3 clubs such as Sheffield Wednesday, Oxford United and West Brom, etc., who we do have in the FA Cup coming up, which should be an incredible game. But going back to Oxford, they recently drew 0-0 up against Coventry City, who have been flying down in points, having been on 10 points in November and absolutely dropping down the table. Well, they've been in points in the table, and notably coming down to a 1-0 or 2-1 loss to us at Carrow, which is an absolute class performance from players such as Anas Ben-Samani and Ali Ahmed, who, well, Anas Ben-Samani looking like he could be on absolute fire and is on to probably score another goal to make it 5-5 for him. I don't know if we'll have a similar Josh Sargent situation where he scores 5, 6 and 5, and then that's it for the rest of the season practically for him. But Anas Ben-Samani looking incredible, and I think he could probably score one up against Oxford United away from home and on a cold Tuesday night. It should be a very, very good experience. With Placheta notably coming back to play up against us for probably, I think it's the second time he's gone up against us in an Oxford United shirt. It should be a interesting welcoming from the Norwich City fans. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if he does score. He will celebrate because he's been away from Norwich City long enough to say, you know what, I might as well celebrate. But it should be an interesting game as Oxford United under Matt Bloomfield are notably known for having that high intensity, high pressure 4-3-3 style of play, and it does look like they could be a bit of a challenge, and that fight will definitely be there for Oxford to go in and hit the ground running against us, and it should be an interesting performance as well. Norwich City currently sit 17th in the Championship table, and a win could send us to 16th, and I can't lie, we're going to probably finish mid-table, but I think if we could just keep going further and further up the league rankings, and potentially, if we're lucky, get a 9th, 8th finish, which would be quite surprising, knowing the likes of Birmingham City and Derby County really pushing in those positions to the playoffs, etc. But with players such as Diallo and Makama out for the game up against Tuesday, which Felipe Clement has said it's only bumps and knocks, so it doesn't seem too bad. They might be out for maybe a week, potentially 2, but I'd be surprised if it's 2 weeks, but it's definitely around a week they'll be out for, with Diallo sustaining an injury during the pre-match training. and Makama getting that injury during the game up against Blackburn, where Mohamed Toure was then subbed on, and it seemed like an absolute miracle for him to come on, because that must have been something God must have sent down, because wow, what a goal that was, and to seal the victory for us up against Blackburn has really helped this confidence boost for us. And with players such as Matej Jurasek out for 9 to 10 weeks, it's an absolute massive blow for Norwich City squad depth, mainly Matej Jurasek not really having the best time at Norwich City, with this being his first full year here. He hasn't really showed any promise, mainly. I mean, he's only scored 1 goal, and that came in the FA Cup up against Walsall. I think he might be homesick, to be honest, with his performances not looking as great. I can't lie. I think if he doesn't really start showing something soon, I think it would be time for him to go. But I do wish him all the best in his recovery, because it does seem like a very serious injury, and all hopes for him to hopefully get back into action and get back into the game, because it's practically looks like he could be out for almost the rest of the season if this injury does sustain for even an even longer period than this. But this game is a must-win game, and with the likes of Kavis Gordon potentially coming in on that left-hand side, with Jurasek and Diallo out, it does look like also Toure could come in, so there will be a bit of a mixed bag of players who aren't probably used to starting, with Kavis Gordon last starting up against Coventry in September. So it should be an interesting thing for them for both players, because this dynamic where we've always had roughly the same players starting every single game, that dynamic slowly building and that team really gelling together. I think there will be a few spanners in the work potentially, but it does look pretty good all out. But hopefully we can win. The predicted lineup I have gone for is Kovacevic in goal, and you probably do know the centre-back pairing. I've gone for Cordoba and McConville, and then we've got Kellen Fisher and Ben Crescene taking on the wing-back roles. In the midfield, I've gone for Kenny McLean and Sam Field. I mean, Sam Field didn't really show much during the Blackburn game. It was more notably Mohamed Toure that got the headlines on him, but I thought he was an interesting player for the 20 minutes that he did play after coming on. I think he will start over Jacob Wright, because the performances of the future club captain he is supposed to be hasn't been up to the standards that we have been expecting over the last couple of months. And in the centre attacking midfield spot, it has to be Anas Ben Samane. I mean, what he's done over the last month has been absolutely superb. Left wing, Kavis Gordon, I think it makes sense for him to start. I mean, the man hasn't started in ages. He needs to get game time on his hands, because for £6.9 million, and for a club that should be going into the playoffs, it should be pretty of an idea of Kavis Gordon probably should be starting a lot more. I mean, he was sort of going to be the Sargent replacement, but yeah. Now we've got Oscar Schwartau starting. I mean, he does need a bit of rest, to be honest. I mean, the amount of games he has consistently started, and he looks like he could be absolutely draining out for what he has been doing for Norwich City. But Mohamed Toure to also start, especially with Makama now being out for probably the next week. I'd love to see how he does in that starting role and see what he can do in 90 minutes. But yeah, hopefully it should be an interesting game. Hopefully Norwich City do win. I've gone for a 2-1 result for us. I don't see us keeping a clean sheet, but hopefully Kovacevic can keep the ball out of the back of the net, as he has seemingly been able to do over the last couple of games. But who knows? Thank you very much. Come on, Yellows. Cheers and goodbye.